Hi, I'm Lucas. I'm 28, and the last time I saw my family, they called me the ugly graduate, and told me I was a disgrace to the Martinez name. That was 10 years ago. 10 years since I packed a duffel bag, walked out of the house, and swore I'd never let them see me cry again. 10 years since my mother muttered, "He doesn't even look like us." And my father, polished and ruthless in his designer suit, said I was a branding liability. But last week, I got an envelope. Cream paper, embossed gold letters. The wedding of Sarah Martinez and Michael Fuentes. Yeah. That's Sarah. My little sister, the golden child. The one they flaunted in family newsletters like a damn trophy. Apparently, she's marrying the heir to one of the wealthiest real estate dynasties in the state. Big deal. Big wedding. Big photo ops. And for some reason, after all these years, they invited me. Maybe they thought I wouldn't come. That I'd be too bitter. Too ashamed. Too buried in whatever dump they imagined I ended up in. But I showed up. Not for them. For me. The moment I stepped into that marble-floored reception hall in a tailored navy suit that cost more than my father's favorite watch, yeah, I checked, I saw them. Frozen. Forks halfway to mouths. Wine glasses trembling. My mother went pale like she'd seen a ghost. My father stood up so fast his chair toppled. Sarah? Her jaw practically hit her designer heels. And then Michael turned to her and asked, "Do you know him?" She couldn't speak. Not fast enough. So I smiled, straightened my cufflinks, and said, "More than you think." I walked across that ballroom like I owned it. Each step echoing louder than the string quartet in the corner. I wasn't wearing revenge. I was revenge. Polished shoes, confidence tailored into every stitch, and a calm, deliberate smile that made my father squint like he was trying to figure out if I was real or a hallucination. Michael, poor guy, still had no clue. "You're Sarah's brother?" he asked, visibly trying to compute how this very public secret had just become a headline at his wedding. "Older brother," I corrected, shaking his hand firmly. "The one you've never heard about because I didn't fit the aesthetic." He looked to Sarah confused. "I thought you were an only child." Sarah, still locked in shock mode, blinked like she'd just been shaken out of hypnosis. "Lucas, we didn't know if you'd come." "Sure you did," I replied smoothly. "You just hoped I wouldn't." I scanned the room while they processed that. The guests had started whispering. Some of them already pulling out their phones, maybe to Google me, maybe to text their favorite gossip group chats. A few glances from the other tables confirmed it. I'd been talked about long before I walked through that door. My mother stepped forward first. "Lucas," she said with her trademark artificial warmth. "You look different." "I am different," I replied. "Turns out, being abandoned by your own family is a hell of a motivator." My father cleared his throat. "Now's not the time or place." "Oh, I agree," I said, voice cool. 10 years ago would have been the time. When you told me I was a walking embarrassment. Remember that, Dad? The way Michael turned to look at him, like seeing a man for the first time without the mask, was priceless. Sarah forced a smile, that pageant smile she'd perfected since age 5. "Lucas, can we talk, privately?" "Sure," I said. "But just so we're clear, I didn't come here to make a scene. I came to make sure you all see me." I looked directly at my father when I said it. And he did. God, he did. Because the last time he saw me, I was a lanky, acne-ridden kid with crooked teeth and low self-esteem. Now I was the CEO of one of the fastest-growing financial analytics firms on the East Coast. The kind of man his precious company now needed. And judging by the man standing behind him, Frank Fuentes, the billionaire father-in-law, I had his attention too. Frank stepped forward, extending a hand. "You're Lucas Martinez," he said, voice crisp. "Founder of Aegis Metrics. I've read your name in Forbes. Impressive." I took his hand. "Funny," I said, loud enough for my whole family to hear. "That's the first time anyone's ever said that to me with the last name Martinez still attached." Sarah's face cracked a little. The mask slipped. And just like that I knew. This night was going to be legendary. Sarah led me out of the main hall and into a side corridor draped in soft white linens, the kind meant to hide utility doors and backstage chaos from the perfect fairy tale scene. She didn't say a word until we were out of earshot. Then she turned, arms crossed, jaw tight. "What the hell are you doing here?" she hissed. There it was. No more wedding smile. No more friendly sibling mask. Just pure, unfiltered panic. You invited me, I said simply, leaning against the wall. Or was that just a PR stunt so you could say you'd done your duty as a gracious bride? Sarah's eyes darted, checking the hallway to make sure we were alone. You weren't supposed to actually come. Of course I wasn't. That's the point. I took a breath, then met her gaze dead on. But I did. And now I'm here. In your fairy tale. Ruining the pictures. You don't understand what's at stake, she said. Dad's been working on this deal with the Fuentes family for over a year. This wedding seals it. I chuckled. So I'm not a guest, I'm a loose thread. She didn't respond, which was answer enough. I took a step closer. You want to talk about understanding stakes? I was 18, Sarah. 18 and standing in the hallway the night of my graduation, listening to Dad tell a room full of clients that I was a walking PR nightmare. That my face didn't reflect well on the family image. He called me the ugly graduate. She flinched. I remember, she said quietly. I didn't know you heard that. Of course you didn't, I said, voice steady. Because after that, no one looked at me again. She looked like she wanted to argue, but couldn't find the words. I kept going. And you were the star. The miracle child. Miss Martinez. College brochures practically fought each other for your smiling face. While I got shipped off to a cheap state school and told to keep a low profile if I didn't want to embarrass the company. Sarah's lips pressed into a tight line. You're not the only one who's had to play a role, Lucas. Maybe not, I said. But I was the only one who got erased. For a long moment, the only sound was the distant muffled hum of music from the reception. Then Sarah whispered, So what now? You show up, drop your little truth bomb, ruin my marriage before it even starts? I let that sit. I didn't come to ruin anything, Sarah. I came to let you ruin it. All I had to do was show up. She looked at me like she hated me. Or maybe like she hated herself for knowing I was right. Then a new voice entered the hallway. Is everything okay? Michael. Of course. He stood a few steps away, suit jacket off, bow tie loosened, watching us like he just walked in on something that flipped the axis of his world. Again. Fine, Sarah said quickly, smoothing her dress. No, I said, stepping forward. Not fine. Michael looked from her to me. What's going on? Ask your wife, I said, and the word wife dripped with irony. Ask her why you didn't know she had a brother until tonight. Ask her what else she didn't mention. Sarah paled. Lucas, don't. But I already had. Michael stared at her, eyes narrowing. You told me your brother died. The hallway dropped into silence. I blinked. She said what? He turned to me. 3 years ago. She told me she had a brother who died in college. That it was too painful to talk about. My voice came out hoarse. You buried me? I had to, Sarah said, trembling. You don't understand what it was like. Dad, he said if I wanted a future, I had to forget the past. And that meant you. Michael took a step back like he'd been punched. That's not forgetting, he said. That's erasing. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't come here expecting to be literally resurrected. I thought I was the family shame, not a ghost story. Then Michael turned to me. Lucas. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I know, I said, still reeling. You were lied to, just like I was. Just like we all were. Sarah covered her mouth with one hand, eyes filling. Lucas. I was just a kid. I didn't know how to fight him. I still don't. And for a flicker of a second I saw her, not the golden daughter, not the bride, but just Sarah. My little sister. Trapped in a glass tower she helped build. I sighed. This isn't about your marriage, I said. It's about who you're willing to be now that it's yours. Michael looked at her. We need to talk. Not now. But soon. He walked away. Sarah stayed frozen. And I? I turned back toward the ballroom. The storm had only just begun. When I re-entered the ballroom, the vibe had shifted. Not dramatically, not yet, but you could feel it. Subtle things. Glances. Whispers. The kind of tension that buzzes under a crystal chandelier while a jazz band tries to pretend nothing's happening. I made my way to the bar. Not because I needed a drink, but because it gave me a vantage point. From there, I could see everything. My parents circling like politicians at a donor gala, guests laughing a little too loudly to cover the awkward, Michael pacing by the terrace door, and Sarah sitting alone, staring at her untouched champagne flute like it might answer a prayer. Then came the real surprise. "Lucas Martinez," said a familiar voice. I turned, and nearly choked on my water. "Gabriel?" "Gabriel freaking Marlowe. Senior partner at Clarion Capital. My first mentor. My biggest professional rival now. The man who once said, 'Don't burn bridges, Lucas. Own them.'" He grinned, raising a glass. "Didn't expect to find you here. You're not the open bar wedding circuit type." "I didn't expect to be here either," I replied. "Long story?" Gabriel sipped his drink. "The kind that involves you dropping nuclear-grade truth into a millionaire wedding reception?" I laughed. "So, you've been watching. Not just watching." He leaned in. "I'm consulting for the Fuentes family on their upcoming development merger. That's how I got the invite. When I saw your name on the guest list, I thought it was a typo." "Yeah, that's what my family thought too." Gabriel studied me. "You look good, by the way. Better than back in New York. Happier. Meaner." "Meaner?" "In a good way. Calculated. Sharp. 10 years of exile will do that," I said. "Apparently being disowned is excellent for your jawline and your asset portfolio." He raised his glass. "To petty trauma-fueled transformation." I clinked my glass with his. "Cheers." But the moment of levity passed quickly. Gabriel's expression shifted. "Listen, I wasn't going to bring this up yet, but since we're already in the belly of the beast, I've been hearing whispers. Your father's company is in trouble." I blinked. "Martinez Investments?" He nodded. "The Monte Verde development is hemorrhaging cash. A few of their permits might have been, let's call it, expedited. If Fuentes finds out before the deal closes, your family's done." I leaned against the bar. "So what's the play?" Gabriel shrugged. "Depends. You could do nothing. Watch the company crash and burn. Let karma handle the final blow. Or, you could step in. Leverage your name. Offer a merger. Clean house. Save the company and control it. Imagine it, Lucas. You, in your father's chair. The prodigal son returned not for forgiveness, but to take the keys." I stared at him. It was everything I had never thought I wanted. And suddenly it sounded perfect. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Last I checked, we weren't exactly allies." Gabriel gave a sly smile. "Because this isn't just your revenge story anymore. Martinez Investments is a fat, overleveraged asset, and you're the wild card that could flip the entire board. If you don't move soon, someone else will." I exhaled slowly, thinking. The idea of taking over the empire that once spat me out, of becoming necessary to the very machine that called me a defect, was intoxicating. But before I could respond, a ripple went through the room. All heads turned. Frank Fuentes had stepped onto the stage. He held a mic in one hand and a glass of red in the other. The man had presence, that unteachable kind of authority that made billionaires pause mid-toast. Even the band went silent. "If I may have your attention," Frank began, his voice rich and deliberate. "I'd like to offer a few words, not just as the father of the groom, but as a man who's seen a lot of families, and even more deals." My heart stilled. Because I had no idea what was about to come out of this man's mouth. Frank continued, eyes scanning the crowd. "Tonight, I met someone who reminded me that success isn't just about what you inherit. It's about what you build when no one gives you a damn thing." "Oh no. No. Lucas Martinez," he said, turning toward me. "Come join me for a moment." Every head in the ballroom snapped to me. Even the damn bartender froze. I moved slowly. Deliberately. Climbed the steps to the stage like I was walking a tightrope between worlds. Frank clasped my shoulder. "I had the pleasure of speaking with this young man tonight," he told the crowd. "What I learned impressed me, not just his accomplishments, which are considerable, but his integrity. His grit." My parents, standing near the back, looked like someone had drained all color from their faces. "Families make mistakes," Frank said. "Sometimes they forget to value what matters. But tonight I saw something I respect, a man who stood alone, rebuilt himself, and came back not with bitterness, but with power." The applause started small. Then it grew. People clapped. Some stood. And I stood there. Not just seen. Known. Sarah's eyes brimmed with tears. Michael looked stunned. And for the first time in a decade, my father looked at me, not as a disappointment, but as a threat. A real one. I stepped off that stage to a room divided. Half the guests gave me the respectful nod usually reserved for diplomats and CEOs. The other half, the ones who'd spent years sipping cocktails with my parents, looked like someone had just told them their stock portfolio was about to implode. Gabriel caught my eye and mouthed one word, checkmate. My parents didn't clap. Not even a polite golf clap. My mother stood rigid, smiling with her teeth like a ventriloquist's dummy. My father, he just stared at me. Not with rage, not yet. No, it was worse. It was calculation. The look he gave before making a hostile acquisition. I made my way back to the bar, but I didn't make it far. My father intercepted me. Lucas, he said, with the icy warmth of someone about to stab you in the ribs through a handshake. We need to talk. I thought we were, I said, keeping my tone even. Wasn't that what just happened? You heard I'm not dead. Frank thinks I'm useful. Everyone's thrilled. Outside, he said tightly. Now. He led me through a side exit, away from the music, the chandeliers, the applause still echoing inside. Into a service hallway where empty champagne crates lined the walls and the air smelled like lemon cleaner and secrets. He turned. What the hell are you doing here? There it was. I almost laughed. I believe it's called attending a wedding. You invited me. No, Sarah invited you. He snapped. She thought it would look good. She didn't think you'd show up and hijack the whole evening. Hijack? I repeated. Interesting word. You disown me for a decade, pretend I'm dead, and when I show up wearing a suit instead of shame, you call it hijacking? He stepped in closer. You humiliated us. No, I said. I didn't. You did. 10 years ago. When you told everyone I wasn't fit to be seen with the Martinez name. When you cut me out of your will. When you buried me to protect your brand. His jaw clenched. You've made your point. Oh, I haven't even started. I said. Because while you were busy grooming Sarah to be the family puppet and laundering your reputation through her face, I was building something real. Something mine. He scoffed. You think I'm scared of your little analytics firm? No, I said. You're scared of Frank Fuentes shaking my hand and realizing I'm more competent than the man whose name is on the company letterhead. That one landed. He didn't reply right away. Instead, he shifted tactics. I made you, he said coldly. Everything you are came from me. My name, my legacy, my blood. I took a step back. Not out of fear, but disgust. You didn't make me, I said. You tried to erase me. And what I built? It came from scraping together every dollar I earned washing dishes while your company blacklisted me from every firm in the city. You want credit for my scars? His mouth opened, then closed. He looked old. For the first time, genuinely old. Not in the way you get with age, but in the way statues wear down from weather and time. Cracked and hollow. I came here to give Sarah a chance to be honest with her husband, I said. But now, I'm not so sure that's enough. What are you going to do? He asked quietly. Burn the whole thing down? I tilted my head. Is that fear I hear? He didn't respond. Frank likes me, I said. Gabriel's already talking merger. You're bleeding money on Monteverde, and I've got 3 former Martinez Investments executives who'd be very happy to talk if I gave them a microphone. He stared at me. Then he did something that shocked me. He nodded. Not in defeat. In acceptance. You want in? He said. Fine. Let's make a deal. No, I said. Let's not pretend this is business. Then what is it? I leaned in, matched his tone. This is justice. He narrowed his eyes. You think this ends with a handshake? That you'll walk into the company and they'll bow? You're dreaming. I smiled. No, Dad. I'm just finally awake. I turned and walked back toward the ballroom, leaving him standing there, alone, between the champagne crates and the lemon cleaner. I had come to this wedding thinking I wanted revenge. But that wasn't enough anymore. Now I wanted the crown. I didn't go back inside immediately. Instead, I stepped out onto the terrace where the cold night air sobered the adrenaline humming in my chest. I needed the moment. To breathe. To steady myself. Because inside that ballroom, the next few hours could shape everything. The door clicked behind me. I didn't turn. I already knew who it was. I thought I might find you here. Sarah said quietly. I glanced back. Her veil was gone, her heels in her hand. She looked tired. Not disheveled, no, Sarah would never allow that, but human. Michael left, she said after a long pause. I raised an eyebrow. Gone? No. Just left the reception. Said he needed time to think. She hesitated. I think I've ruined my marriage before it even started. I shrugged. At least you got good catering. She laughed, sharp, sudden, and then clutched her stomach like it hurt. God, Lucas. I forgot how vicious you could be. 10 years will do that. She came closer, barefoot on the stone. Do you hate me? That stopped me. Did I? I turned to look at her. Really look. No, I said finally. Not anymore. She exhaled. Then why did you come back? Because you invited me. And I wanted to see if anyone in this family still knew how to tell the truth. She nodded slowly, folding her arms. I thought lying would protect me. That pretending you didn't exist would keep things clean and simple. You were always the reminder Dad didn't want. And she paused. I just didn't want to be dragged down. That stung. But it was honest. So, she said, looking at me carefully. Now what? You burn it all down? Take the company? Humiliate Dad until he begs for mercy? I didn't answer right away. Because I hadn't decided. Then she surprised me. What if you didn't destroy it? She said. What if you rebuilt it? What if we did? I blinked. We? I asked. You want to partner with me? I want a future where I don't have to keep lying just to stay in the family. If you're going to run this ship, maybe I don't want to be left behind. I searched her face for the catch, the trap. But there was none. Just a woman who'd finally stepped out from behind the curtain our father pulled her strings from. I'll think about it, I said. She nodded. That's all I'm asking. And then she did something she hadn't done since we were kids. She hugged me. Just a brief, tired, sister-shaped hug. I'm sorry, she whispered. For everything. And before I could say anything back, she turned and walked barefoot back into the noise and light of the ballroom. I stood there a while longer, watching the city lights blink in the distance. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about rewriting the legacy. 3 months later, the company nameplate changed. Martinez Holdings was no more. Now it read Martinez and Marlowe Strategies. A fusion of legacy and rebellion, old blood and new rules. Gabriel signed on as senior advisor. I took the CEO title. Sarah became director of community initiatives, a role she designed herself. Not just a face anymore. A function. Our father? He retired. Not quietly. He fought it at first, backroom calls, boardroom manipulations, veiled threats, but the numbers weren't in his favor. And neither were the shareholders. Once Frank Fuentes publicly endorsed the merger, and Sarah sided with me, the tide was too strong for him to swim against. I saw him one last time, 3 weeks after the deal closed. He asked to meet at his country club. I agreed, mostly for curiosity's sake. I underestimated you, he said over black coffee. That won't happen again. I'm not interested in your approval, I told him. Just your silence. He didn't argue. Just nodded. For the first time in his life, I think he understood the meaning of limits. Sarah and Michael began couples therapy the week after the wedding. It wasn't easy, he felt betrayed, humiliated, but she fought for it. No more lies, no more curated family images. Just raw truth. Some days they made progress. Some days she cried in my office. And I let her. Because for the first time in forever, she was trying to feel something real. One afternoon, she stopped by unannounced. She had a photo in her hand. Us, aged 10 and 12, at a beach in Cancun. I was gawky and pale. She was tanned and perfect. But in the photo, we were laughing. Not posing. Just laughing. I want to put it up in the office, she said. Start remembering the real parts. I nodded. Good idea. As for me? I didn't just take back my seat at the table. I rebuilt the whole damn table. Hired the outcasts. Promoted the unheard. Dismantled the family hierarchy brick by brittle brick. Revenge had never been about breaking them. It was about becoming unbreakable. The last time I saw my reflection in the glass doors of our new headquarters, I smiled. Not because I looked good, but because, for the first time in my life, I finally looked like me.